Hey, ghoul friend. It's me, Adrian, or Aiden. Either way, I want to ask you to wish Susto a happy birthday. As we celebrate the upcoming 5th anniversary of Susto and its dedication to exploring the rich tapestry of Latin American and Hispanic folklore, I invite you to join me in taking this paranormal project to the next level. Over the past 5 years, I've delved deep into the mysterious realms of ghostly apparitions, supernatural legends, and chilling tales that have captivated audiences worldwide. Now, as I embark on the next chapter of this journey into the unknown, I need your support to enhance your experience as a listener. Your generous donation will allow me to invest in a new recording setup, ensuring that future spine-chilling narratives are captured with crystal ball clarity and devilish detail. With upgraded equipment, I'll be able to host ghoulish guests with greater ease and transport you even deeper into the heart of darkness, where legends come alive and the paranormal awaits. Every dollar contributed will aid in advancing the quality of Susto, enabling me to continue preserving and sharing the enchanting folklore of Latin American and Hispanic cultures with the world. Join me in celebrating 5 years of fear-inducing tales and help me amplify this spooky saga for many more to come. Together, we can unlock the secrets of the supernatural and keep the spirit of storytelling alive. To make a donation, you can visit gofund.me/10bcdc27. Thank you for your support, and may the spirits guide you on your journey through the unknown. Eternally yours, Adrian or Aiden. Either way. It's me, Adrian, or Aiden. Either way, I am still your host, and you are still listening or watching Susto, the podcast of ooky, spooky, scary stories. Welcome back. Thank you for rejoining. If this is your first time, thank you for being here. And again, if you are a best ghoul friend on patreon.com/Susto podcast, then you have access to the video version of this episode. And we're in for a very special treat today. I'm very excited for our guest. But before that, just a really quick update. Starting today, March 7th through Saturday the 9th, I will be tabling at the BIPOC Pop Symposium at UT Austin. I'm pulling up the website right now. That's bipocpop.org. Again, it starts today on Thursday. It ends on Saturday. I will be tabling all 3 days and presenting on Saturday. I've posted it on my Instagram. The link is also in my link tree. So if you have any questions about this event, please go check it out to find out how to get there. It is a free event, free to attend, so that is taken care of. There are going to be some really amazing people there, not only tabling, but also presenting, facilitating discussions. So drop by, say hi, pick up something from my spooky merch table, and sit in for my workshop. I'm very excited for this, and I'm very grateful to have been asked to participate in something like this. So again, you can catch me there starting today, March 7th, until Saturday the 9th. And as always, if you have your own scary story that you would like for me to share on a Letters from the Beyond episode and give it the full Susto treatment, you already know how to do that. There are various ways to reach me. You can send me a DM on social media, an email, through my website, leave it in a review, Spotify Q&A, summoning circle, whatever you need to do, get me that content. And it doesn't only have to be a written story. It can also be a photo, video, audio recording, anything that you think is spooky that I should know of, send it in to me, and I will either share it on a Letters from the Beyond episode or on social media. Speaking of, make sure to follow me on social media at Susto Podcast on every platform for any and all updates on the show. And yeah, let's get into today's episode. I'm very excited. Today we have Miguel Villa from My Horror Confessional. A couple of weeks ago, I was over on Miguel's show. We watched the movie Le Diabolique. It was an amazing movie, and Miguel is a phenomenal host. So I highly recommend that you go and check out his episode that I was on, and all of his other episodes, to be honest. But today, Miguel visited Susto. He dropped by the haunted house, and he was just as phenomenal as he was to host. He was an amazing guest. We talked about many different things, and I'm excited for you to hear this conversation. So just a little bit about Miguel. I'm going to read my bio for him here. Each week in the Confessional, Miguel has a guest on who will confess to not having seen a classic horror movie. Join him as he discusses the movie, why his guest hasn't seen it, what their history with horror is, and other topics. If at the end of the show, he feels as if they have truly repented, he will absolve them of their horror sin. Join him every week, and let's geek out on the movies we love. Amazing. So without any further ado, let's get into today's episode, which is an interview with Miguel Villa from My Horror Confessional.
Hey, what's up? I'm Charlie.
And I'm Tyler.
And we are Believing the Bizarre,
a paranormal podcast that dives into the unknown and the unusual every Tuesday.
We discuss hauntings, cryptids, aliens, UFO encounters, conspiracies, and more.
And we break down whether or not we find them believable.
All right, listen, if you're not paying for electricity, you're not paying for dinner.
Saw a terrifying looking face pressed to the window with gaping eyes.
Almost reached it when the laughter stopped suddenly, and a sound behind me made me turn around.
Sorry, I was gonna do it, but then I had SpaceX.
So we got you covered, whether you like horror or laughs, or both. We actually really hope it's both.
With over 3 million downloads, you'll be joining a bizarro community that we promise is more than just Mothman and our parents.
We even take creepy stories from our listeners and turn them into episodes.
Check out Believing the Bizarre on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Believing the Bizarre, a podcast as bizarre as you are.
Well, ghoul friends, today we have a very special treat. Pull out your rosaries, your Bibles, your prayer journals. We are joined today by Padre Miguel from My Horror Confessional. Miguel, thank you so much for being here today.
La bendición.
Right off the bat, yes, thank you. La hostia, please hand it over, the cracker and the wine.
Yeah. Thank you for having me.
Of course. This is really such a fun treat for me. For those of you who don't know, if you haven't listened, I was actually on My Horror Confessional on the 9th, February 9th. So make sure to go check out Miguel's show. It is such a great show. And actually, I'm just going to let him tell you a little bit more about that.
Yeah, of course. So My Horror Confessional is a classic horror movie podcast where every week I have a guest come on and talk about one classic horror movie that they haven't seen and why. Then they'll watch it for the show, and we just talk about it. We get into it about the guests. About the actors, about the movie itself, and we just get off script a lot and just talk about other shit. Like, as you're aware, we got into a lot of different topics. So that's the reason why I do that is because everybody's talking about the newest movies that come out always. But I want to have conversations about the older one because I am older, and like the 70s is my favorite decade in horror, right there with the 80s. But like not a lot of people talk about those movies, so I wanted to talk to them about it. And also I like to have long form conversations. I'm incapable of having an episode less than 2 hours, and I know that doesn't rub people. Some people can't do it. Completely understand. My podcast isn't for you, but I like having those long form conversations and getting into different topics with people. So, we come out every Friday, and the movie has to be at least 20 years old. So right now we're doing movies that were made in 2004 or before that. And you came on and you talked about
Diabolique, Les Diaboliques.
Yes, Les Diaboliques. Yeah, because you're a classy motherfucker. Which is a French black and white film from the 60s. Which I was so happy you picked because not a lot of people picked them. And I mean, I loved it. And I believe you ended up loving it as well. I think we both gave it 5 upside down crosses.
We sure did. It was honestly, hold on, look. I don't know if you saw that, but my cat just yanked my headphones out of my ears. Yeah. So I missed the last few seconds of that. But I did want to say either way about the length of your podcasts. Personally, so Susto, as you may know, it's a pretty short podcast. It's anywhere from like 20 to 45 minutes on average. Sometimes I'll have longer episodes, but personally, I like listening to longer podcasts. So for the people who listen while they clean, shower, drive, work, those long ones are perfect, and I love those. So I appreciate the work and the effort that goes into creating something of such substance, because I mean, like, I think the general rule of thumb for those who maybe do not create content like this is, for me, usually what happens is whatever time it took to, or however long the raw material is, double that, and then that's usually the amount of time it takes to edit or to put it together.
Yeah, that's a great point. Yeah.
I can't even imagine. So kudos to you.
Thank you.
So I do want to mention, by the way, for you all listening, we are recording video of this episode. This is a Patreon exclusive. So if you are a best school friend on Suso's Patreon, then hello, hi, these are our faces. Thank you for being here. And I want to address something really shocking right off the bat, something that you told me after I recorded with you, and I said, we got to get you on Susto, and I don't know how I'm going to break this without getting emotional, but you told me that you are fully a skeptic.
I am 100% a skeptic. Yeah. Yes, I am. I am the type of person to roll my eyes when I hear stories. I'm like, oh God. So I am trying to be a better person, because I know that not everybody wants to hang out with somebody like that. But yeah, I am a Reformed Catholic. I'm a recovering Catholic, I should say. I have religious trauma. That's why my podcast is called My Horror Confessional. But yeah, I'm an atheist now, and with being an atheist, you kind of for me personally, I'm not stepping on anybody's beliefs or anything like that. But for me personally, when you become an atheist, you kind of let go of a lot of the stuff that comes with religious trauma, and you don't even really realize that it's so ingrained in you and in our culture, and especially in Hispanic culture, that you don't even think it's tied to religion, but it is. It's tied to religion. And so it's like, I have decided to no longer allow religion to have hold over me. And I know that's like the lame answer, but like that's the viewpoint that I'm seeing stuff in. So when people talk about ghosts, well, because there's ghosts are your spirit form, right? Spirit comes from religion, because you're told that you have a soul, right? I don't think you have a soul, so there's no ghosts. So that's me. That's me. But if shit goes bump in the night, I will be scared, and I will Scooby-Doo my ass.
Jumps back
yes.
in.
Oh, 100%. Like they say, there's no atheists in a foxhole. Like if if it feels haunted, I will Scooby-Doo my ass out of the room,
Yeah. I mean, no, listen, I honestly, the perspective of a skeptic is always welcome to me. I consume this content, and I have this, like, I feel like a healthy dose of skepticism, because not everything is immediately paranormal. It's not always spooky. Like, there's usually an explanation. And I think as someone who is really into this kind of stuff, the scarier things are the things that you go down the list and you say, okay, how can I debunk this? The further down you get on that list without being able to debunk it, that's when it gets really exciting. So I think you need skepticism at some point. I I don't judge you.
You should judge me. Well, because I have friends, like my whole family, like I had my best friend, growing up, wouldn't watch The Exorcist with me because this is the Diablo, right? It's like, oh, come on, man. I would like cut myself off from certain movies, and I want to experience everything that is horror movies, like all genres, all decades, everything. I want to experience it all. And so I'm not going to cut myself off from that because, the church said I shouldn't watch that movie or whatever, which in fact, the church gained so many new followers when The Exorcist came out. Like that was like their, it's like their Super Bowl or something like that, because people watch that and then they go running to the church. So it's like, they want those movies.
Oh, for sure. It's kind of like propaganda almost.
Well, yeah, 100%. Yeah.
This is a little off topic. I didn't have this planned, but it made me think of did you watch the new Exorcist movie? Like the Doublemint
Believer or
twin
something?
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't had a chance to see it yet.
Oh, okay.
So well, if you want to spoil, go. I don't.
Well, no real spoilers. I'll just say I want you to watch it and then let me know what you think, especially with the idea of propaganda in your head, which I never really like officially thought of it that way. But my boyfriend and I went to see it, and I left, and I was like, that was just like full on like like a Catholic infomercial or something. And he was like, well, that's what all demon movies are. He's like, what do you
Yeah.
think they're made for? And I was like, holy shit. Yeah, wow. It really is. It scares people back into the church.
Yeah.
So just an interesting point of topic.
I'm definitely gonna check it out now. And even along with that, like the way that you kill a vampire, Dracula, is with a cross, right, or holy water, or even with I think you can do it with werewolves as well, or something like that. It's ingrained in us, and yeah, it's something I'm actively fighting against for myself.
The ultimate superpower is Christ.
Yes.
Well, with that being said, I have a couple questions for you today. Now that we've addressed the skeptic elephant in the room. So I do want to ask, because again, your show is so interesting to me, and I think that there's a lot of intersections that we as creators in our own shows would come across. So I wanted you to share some insights into your approach to analyzing and discussing these films on your show.
Yeah, so for me, I started my podcast in 2021, and I wanted to do it because I wasn't hearing my voice. One good thing that came out of something that was absolutely terrible, like the summer of 2020, everybody remembers that with COVID and all the Black Lives Matter movement and all that sort of stuff. One good thing that came out of it was that there was some light shown on people of color content creators in the horror sphere, right? And so this was something that I was searching for my whole life. The reason why I do a solo podcast is because I don't have the support in my life of other horror lovers, because I'm Latino. My family is like, we don't watch this sort of shit. So, and my friends even as well, growing up, were Latino. They didn't watch it, so I had to do it myself. But so out of 2020 came that stuff, and I found like Podmortem, which is one of my favorite podcasts, my favorite podcast. But I also found like Johnny and Eileen over at Uy Que Horror, and Blurry Massacre came out of that as well. Girl, That's Scary. Like these are, I don't like saying minorities, like people of the global majority, right? That's what we are. White people are the global minority. We are the global majority. And so what came out of that was like, they can do it. I want to do it as well. And so it really prompted me to do something like that. But I just put my own twist on it. And my twist was the classic horror movies, the stuff that I grew up watching. My oldest brother was 8 or 9 years older than me, and in the 80s, and so he was big into like 80s horror movies, like all your Halloweens and your Nightmare on Elm Street and the Jason movies and all that sort of stuff. And so a lot of people, while they would cover that, they just wouldn't cover a lot of the older stuff. So I wanted to put my twist on it, and that comes with watching the movie with that point of mind of like, wait, why did that person die first, as we always see, or even like the way that women were treated, and kind of like up until like the late 2010s or something like that, it just started coming around where they're being treated better. So just keeping that in mind when I'm scoring things. Also, the type of movie that I will allow, or that I will have a guest do. For example, if it's a black movie, I'm gonna try to have a black person on to talk about it. I'm not gonna, that's why whenever I have a guest on, I'll ask for three movies for them to choose, and I'll kind of tailor it for them. Or even if it's something like a rape revenge film, like I just recorded last week with Zena Rush, who's a film producer. She did I Spit on Your Grave, which is a rape revenge film, and it's really, really nasty. It's a 30-minute essay scene.
Oh my God.
It's terrible. But I wouldn't just have that with some random guy. I want to have that with a woman who knows, because I told her, trigger warnings, and she actually loves the rape revenge subgenre, so she chose that film. So I come through my movies with that lens, and but also trying to keep it funny. We don't always like have like 2-hour long conversations on why, maybe a man should not have directed I Spit on Your Grave or something like that, but we try to keep it funny.
Yeah,
That was a long-winded answer. Sorry.
No, it's perfect. It's a delicate balance, and I think that's why it's not for everyone to facilitate those discussions, right? Because it is hard to do. It's hard to navigate that. And again, I think that just goes to show the amount of work and the amount of care that you put into producing these episodes. Because again, you're not just making content just to make content. You're actively looking for people who have maybe deeper insights, and for lack of a better word, just a better perspective on these conversations again that you're trying to have. So again, super appreciate that.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I just wanted to say one more thing. I just realized that I'm trying to amplify the voices that I feel should be amplified for that particular movie. And not all movies require it. Like Demons wouldn't necessarily require a specific voice, but there are some that do.
Yeah. I think you'd mentioned earlier, like these waves of like horror in pop culture. And so I think like 80s, was one of like the great eras of horror. But, and I don't know, it's something that I've noticed, and I guess I'll ask your opinion on it too, is I don't know if I'm noticing it because now I'm creating this content or if it's something that's actually happening, but I feel like there is this sort of like a renaissance of people of color in horror. Is that something that you've noticed, or maybe it's just something that, again, like I'm noticing because now I'm in it as well?
No, I think definitely, so to be fair, we have always been in the movies. We've always been making it. Oscar Micheaux is one of the first directors ever, and we're talking like the 20s and 30s, and he was a black man, but he was doing independent black movies all the way back then. So our voices have always been, and when I say I'm not black, but I'm saying people of color have always been there. It's just that sometimes the majority don't listen or don't want to listen or whatever. But recently within the last decade or so, especially with like Jordan Peele coming out like and making his movies, and then there was a documentary called Horror Noir, which just came on the scene and blew everything up because it showed that history of black people making horror movies and people of color being in these horror movies, and then now we're getting the chance to tell our stories. Even something with Podmortem just did it 2 weeks ago or so, His House. Have you seen this movie? It's called His House. It's a fairly new movie within the last 5 years. It was a Netflix movie. This is a story about refugees from, I don't want to speak out of class, but maybe it's Sudan. I'm not remembering exactly, but it's a war-torn African country, and they're refugees from that. And they come over to the UK, and they get this house, and the house is either haunted or something is happening. And
I have seen this one.
Okay, and there's like, I never in a million years would have thought that we would see that movie, and we saw that movie got to be created, and it was amazing. It's a great movie, and so I think, the people are given chances, and even like the new Candyman that came out a couple years ago. Forgetting the woman's name that did that, but so she was very young, as a black woman. That they gave the chance to make a horror film, and she fucking knocked it out of the park. And even with like Ryan Coogler, who did Black Panther, like that's not a horror film, but as the budget for Black Panther and Black Panther 2 over $100 million, and you see when you give people the money, the resources, they can do it just as well as anybody else. So that I feel like we're that's starting to trickle down now into horror films, which is great. We're starting to hear some of our voices, even in horror literature. So I am on Ghoulish, the Ghoulish Podcast Network, and Ghoulish is a bookstore in San Antonio. My friend Max Booth and his wife Lori Booth own, and because it's a horror, all they do is sell horror books there. And so because of that, I'm getting, I'm seeing on the shelves more black writers, more Hispanic writers, more like non-white writers that I'm seeing, and it's just great. Like Leticia Urieta, who's in Austin, I've had her on my show. She is Hispanic, and she writes from a woman's perspective. She writes horror, and it's just, we are as talented, if not more talented, than others. And now
in many cases.
Yeah, like one of my mottos is just like handle yourself with the confidence of a mediocre white man, and you'll go so much farther.
Absolutely. Just a really healthy, sometimes unhealthy dose of delusion goes a very long way.
Delulu for sure.
Delulu is the Salulu. I think that's extremely important to note that our voices have always been there. I think definitely now, though, there is kind of like an amplification of them because of maybe access to resources and to access to even channels that are free. It's free to sign up for social media and build your following that way. I think now there are different opportunities. In some ways, there are more opportunities that are allowing us, again, to kind of lift our voices even more. So, I think, I think that's good. That's an amazing answer. I think that gives listeners a lot of resources to go and check out and to see that, our voices have always been present. I think that kind of answers the next question I'll ask either way, but I wanted, and again, I think you kind of touched on this definitely, but I want to know if you think that cultural backgrounds influence our own perceptions of horror and the paranormal in general.
Yeah, I think so. Definitely with the culture, even specifically like with like Hispanic culture. So there's a movie that came out last year called Satanic Hispanics, and it was an anthology film with 4 or 5 Latino artists, art directors, I should say, and cast and crew and whatever. And one of the people on there was Gigi Saul Guerrero, which she's this amazing up and coming director, and so that it got to showcase like I don't remember if it was 4 or 5 different viewpoints of that. They're not all Mexican, or they're not all. Some are like Central American, some are like from the islands. Like I'm Mexican and Puerto Rican, so like I get both sides of it. But no matter where you go, not all Latinos are the same, right? So it's going to be a different viewpoint, which I really appreciate. But expanding from that, just like looking at what like South Korea is doing for horror films, like the movies coming out of South Korea are just if you or your audience hasn't seen these movies, they're absolutely amazing, fantastic. Some of the best movies, like Parasite, Train to Busan, like those movies will absolutely destroy you. They're some of the best movies put on film ever. So good. Then you have like a French Extreme, the new French Extreme, which like in America we had gore porn, right? Like in the mid 2000s up until like just the last couple of years, it's kind of tapered down, which is kind of, I'm happy because it was never really my genre. I wasn't a big fan of gore porn.
Same.
But the French took it to an absolute extreme with there's a movie called Martyrs, which I won't get into, but it is so fucking brutal. So America is like, when they were doing gore porn, it was like your little cousin who you watch putting on a little play, and you're like, oh, you're clapping, oh, that's so cute. The French took that and just revolutionized it and just made it into an art form. Martyrs is not for everybody. There's movies that are not for everybody. So if you can't handle extreme gore, do not watch this movie. But Martyrs is absolutely like a work of art. And the French, just because that's what the French do. And they also did this movie called Inside, which is absolutely amazing.
Is that the one that we saw at Terror Tuesday? There was like a French one that was really good. God, that one.
Yes.
Oh my God. Yeah, I left the theater and I was like, it's a great story, but like, I was like, gore is, it just like re-solidified. I was like, gore is just not for me. It was like, oh my God, it was a lot. If anybody chooses to watch that one, just go in very carefully, please.
Yeah, this isn't one of the ones that like you get together with your friends and like laugh over it. Like this is some serious shit. But even so, that's the French. And then if you go over to like Italy like will do just ramps shit up and just like puts their flair to it. Like in the 80s with like Lucio Fulci and Mario Bava and Dario Argento, they were doing giallo, which if people don't know, giallo literally is like the color yellow, but it's like slashers, but with style and panache and like flair. It's got it's going to have like a mysterious killer, black gloves. It's going to take place in the fashion industry. These women are going to be serving, you know what? And it's going to be absolutely beautiful. So that's what they put onto it. So I think everywhere you go, they're going to have a certain, you know, they're going to put their own spin on it. And then like, you're going to be able to be like, oh, wow, this is why like they're known for this, right? So yeah, so I definitely think that your cultural background definitely comes into play when you're like talking about what you're creating.
Yeah, it's kind of hard for it not to. I think like just even subconsciously, when you create content, even if it's not specifically centered on like culture, it's hard. It's hard to avoid your own background kind of like showing up. So it's really great, I think, when people embrace that and they bring their culture to the forefront in their creation. So speaking on that kind of topic, a lot of classic horror movies draw inspiration from folklore and from urban legends. So I wanted to ask if you've noticed any recurring themes or motifs both in classic horror films and paranormal folklore from, again, the Latinx and Hispanic diaspora.
I will, and we touched on it a bit in the beginning, because I can't help and not like talk for my soapbox about like being anti-religion. But yeah, in Latinx horror movies, a lot of times the church is the good guy. Mm-hmm. The church is the one that's going to save you. And so that's something that I notice even with like, you know, I'm not 100%, up on like folklore, which is really, I really should do that. And maybe I'll ask you for some recommendations, because the way I got into, so I'm an avid reader, and the way I got into reading is that my father would drop me off at the library on a Saturday, and I was like 8 years old by myself. I had my library card, and I would go there, and he would come pick me up. When it opened, he'd drop me off, and he'd come pick me up when it closed. And I was reading all the books that they had on Greek mythology. And then Greek mythology led me into like superhero comics, and then like that led me into like, but also at the same time horror movies, stuff like that. So I know about like Greek mythology, but I don't really know a lot about Latinx, you know, mythology. Mm-hmm. So I just know like the big stuff like La Llorona, El Cocuy, and that sort of shit. Yeah, and El Cocuy is just you know. But like I've never. That's why like I love listening to your podcast, because you put me on to that sort of stuff. But from my eyes, from what I've seen, a recurring theme is just like the church being the good guy, but. Some of the movies that I love the most are when writers and directors put the church up to a mirror and reflect it back to us to show the hypocrisy of it. So, for example, one of my favorite movies of all time is Alucarda, which is from the 70s. It's from Mexico. And it's basically like a nunsploitation subgenre. So, are you familiar with the nunsploitation subgenre?
I'm not at all.
Yeah, I didn't expect you to be, but whenever you say something exploitation, always comes from black exploitation, right? Mm-hmm. Which was the 70s, which came about from when black people started being able to tell stories, like their own stories, but because they were most of the time white producers and white directors, they were choosing the types of stories that were being told. And a lot of times it was about the ghetto, and it was about drugs and crime and
like
pimps and all sorts of stuff.
Stereotypes.
Right. So that's where the exploitation part of it comes from it. But the positive part about it was that people took that and saw themselves in it, and then started creating their own stuff. Right. Mm-hmm. So that's what I love. So there's other exploitation genres. So one of them is nunsploitation subgenre, and that's when you have sexy nuns or something like that. They're always like it's very lesbian nuns and stuff like that. But it's always it's always, not always, but the ones that do it the best, right? Because there's some that are just straight up porn. But the ones that do it the best, they put the church up to a light and show the hypocrisy of it. And that's what Alucarda does. It's two women who are artists convents, and they kind of find each other, and then they kind of just take the whole convent down, and it's just so fucking good. Some of the imagery, Alucarda.
Alucarda.
Yeah, which is basically just Dracula backwards.
Oh, okay.
Alucarda, I think. Yeah, and then maybe they put in an extra A. I can't think right now. But yeah, it's Alucarda, and then there's another one in a similar vein called Satanico Pandemonium, which myself and my friend Anthony Jerome, who is a huge fan of yours, and when I told him that I was coming on, he was so excited.
Oh, I follow him online. Hey, Anthony.
Yeah.
Hi. Yeah.
So we did for my second season of my show. I didn't plan on doing this, but I had Anthony Jerome on my show, and we did Black Christmas, which is a proto slasher from 1974. When I say proto slasher, it's like before Halloween, and it's before Nightmare on Elm Street, and before all that sort of stuff. So before what we know as a slasher. And so he came on to talk about it, loved it. But then in the process of recording that, I said that he hated the 70s. I was like, wait, what?
Uh-oh.
And as I just told you, the 70s is my favorite subgenre. So I literally stopped everything I was doing. I never intended on having seasons. I stopped it at season 1, and we started a season 2, and it became my 70s confessional, where I did 10 episodes with Anthony, one movie for every year. So 1970, 71, 72. So we did 10 episodes, and one of the ones we did was Satanico Pandemonium, and we both absolutely loved it. It's another nunsploitation film, but it's
that name
so
alone just sounds so sick. Like, it sounds really cool.
Yeah, I mean, it's so good that Quentin Tarantino ripped it off for the name of his character for Salma Hayek in From Dusk Till Dawn.
Oh, okay.
Her name was Satanic Pandemonium, and completely ripped off the name. But which that's what he does. But I'm not going to get into that. But but yeah, so I just got off on a tangent. But yeah, those are some of the. We were talking about the nunsploitation subgenre.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Wow. God, I feel like I hope everybody's taking notes. We are going to be forming a study guide, an outline of writing in your prayer journals, because this is all such, like, I'm eating all of this information up. And I'm really grateful that you're also explaining a lot of these phrases or terms, because they're very new to me. So again, appreciate that.
Yeah.
Are there any specific Latin American or horror films that you have found? I mean, I feel like you just covered them. You found them particularly intriguing in their incorporation of paranormal folklore. I don't know. I feel like you answered that with Satanico Pandemonium, hard word to say, and
Alucarda. Yeah, I would want to just mention some more, because I came across, these are ones that, so I'll say right now that I am so jealous of Uy Que Horror and what Johnny and Eileen are doing, because that was literally the idea that I had. I wanted to focus on Latinx horror movies. Mm-hmm. I just didn't think that there was an audience for it. Then when I saw that they were doing it, I'm like, well, I can't do it better than them. So I flipped it. I did something else. But for your listeners, I'm sure they're aware, but if they're not, Uy Que Horror, they do every week. Well, now they're every other week, but they'll do a movie from the Latinx diaspora, and I absolutely love that, because it's put me onto some movies. But I had a chance to come on their show maybe a year or so ago, and I brought to them Macario. Macario is a Mexican film, black and white, from 1960, and it was actually Mexico's first entrance into the Oscars. They didn't end up winning that year, but it was the first time that they were nominated. But Macario is supernatural, and it's on the verge of being horror. It's horror lights, but the story that is told in there is absolutely beautiful. It's stunning. The imagery is so great. It's about this peasant who has had a really rough life, and he comes he's in the desert, and all he wants is a turkey for himself. He has like 5 or 6 kids, and they're all grubbing at any food he gets, and he's skinny because he can't get any food because he has to give it to his kids, and all he wants is a turkey for himself. And one day his wife, this happens within the first 10 minutes, I'm not spoiling anything, his wife steals one from somebody and gives it to him, and he takes it out to the desert. And first of all, the wife is amazing. Like she could have gone to jail and like gotten killed, but she's like, I know you need this, I'm gonna do this for you, because they're always there. They're always put in that situation. But he takes his turkey and he goes to the desert or the forest or whatever, and then he's come across by 3 people, and one of them being death, and then it just goes from there. And it's just a great folk story. Macario from 1960. The other one I'll say is like there's like 2 others. I'm sorry. Poison for the Fairies. Amazing 70s film, takes place in like this all girls dormitorium. It's so good. And then El Esqueleto de la Señora Morales, The Skeleton of Senora Morales. That's a black and white Mexican film. I'm so happy that I'm having somebody come on. Actually, Mikey P is going to be coming on and talking about that, because that was one I was saving for a Latino person to do. But yeah, I would recommend any of those films. There's so many great films. Like, if you go watch any of those films, you'll go down a rabbit hole of other directors and all that sort of stuff. The level, the quality of like horror movies made by Latinos is just immense. And there's another person called Trash Mex on Instagram. He doesn't only focus on horror. He does like Mexican crime dramas, all that sort of shit. He's puts a spotlight on like the Mexican movie industry from like the 70s and 80s. A lot of shit that like would have just been tossed to the side. He's like, no, let's reevaluate. This shit is really good.
Yeah. My God, wow.
And I'll shut up. Sorry.
No, please don't shut up. Again, so many good like resources. I'm like creating a list in my head. I'm like, okay, I need to go watch all of these ASAP. Do you think that exploring classic horror movies and thinking about paranormal folklore contributes to a deeper understanding of both those subjects, of both the folklore itself and the movie?
Yeah, definitely. I think so. That's one of the things that I love doing. Like when I'll watch a movie, is then I'll go research the movie afterwards, and I'll go to see like, where did this come from? So, for example, for the movie that you and I did, Les Diaboliques, came from a French novel written by these 2 dudes, and that story was a kernel of a truth from a story in France, right? So when I'm researching the movies that I'm doing, oftentimes I'll find that, especially like in Asian culture, Japan or China or like South Korea, a lot of the movies that they're making are based off of their own folklore, which is great as well. And even with us, with Latinos as well. Like, I can't tell you how many La Llorona movies I've seen, right? I think La Llorona has been done. We've covered it from all bases. I think we can move on from that. But it is like, so I think we see it so many times because it's such a huge part of our culture. Yeah. One of the movies, one of the folklores that I haven't seen, and actually Anthony Jerome had put me onto it, was the story of the girl like who goes to a dance and dances with the devil.
Yeah, the girl who dances with the devil.
Yeah. And I don't think I've seen that in like film form, even like a short horror film or something like that. And I would love to see that. But
I just want to say, it's so funny you say that. I was having a conversation with a friend recently, and I've like, ever since I started Susto, I've had this idea. It would be a dream to work with a team of like writers and filmmakers to do even like a short film and like a reimagination even of the story of the girl who danced with the devil, but from like a queer perspective, and like kind of sharing sharing a story from my own personal life that I won't get into now, but I think would lend itself in a really impactful way to retelling that story. So If there's a production team out there that wants to work with me, I don't have a lot of money. I would love to make that happen one day.
Listen, I want that for you. I want to hear that as well. That I think that would be amazing. Listen, I would just say, I'm just gonna put this out there. I think you and Anthony Jerome M would hit it off completely. Like he's like the opposite of me. He believes in all this stuff, and he like listens to you, and he loves that sort of stuff. He like consumes it a lot. So he put me onto that one, and that's one of the ones that I'm really interested in seeing. I would love to see what you could do with that. I think it'd be great. I'll tell you this right now. I didn't come here to be a motivational speaker or anything like that, but I think that you are so talented, and you would be able to. You can do it. You just have to find the resources, right? We don't all have the resources, but like for myself, I was thinking I wanted to write comics, but I was like, I don't know how to do it. Then my friend Zach Chapman, he started writing comics as well, and I was like, oh, that's really cool, but that's for him. Then I was like, you know what? Like nobody's going to come to my door and say, you can now start writing comics. Nobody came to his door and said he could start writing comics. I just had to like believe in myself and start doing it. And writing comics is different from making a fucking movie. So I completely understand, because a lot of it is just me like writing and shit like that. But I started doing that, and now like I have like 2 or 3 stories and 2 or 3 comics that I have out, or that will be out in shortly. And that, like I look back for myself a year or two ago, and I would have been like, there's no way that same person would have done this. But I just started doing it because I started carrying myself with like a mediocre white man, right?
Yeah.
I just do it. Just fucking do it, because nobody's going to come to your door and say, you can now do it, which that would be great, because if somebody would just had a bunch of money, I'd be like, go see Aiden over at Susto, because he's going to make a dope ass movie.
I mean, no, listen, I love hearing that, and I love having this conversation. I've said it many times before. I've had people ask me, like, hey, and this is kind of off topic, but this is the motivational hour on Susto. But like when people ask me about wanting to start their own even podcast or their own kind of creative venture, and they ask for a piece of advice, my first piece of advice is always just do it. Just put out your first episode, write your first story, just do something, because I guarantee you in a month, in 6 months, in a year, in a couple years down the line, you're probably going to look back at it and be like, that was dog shit, kind of. And maybe not, hopefully not, right? But you're never going to progress. You're never going to get better. You're never going to create a catalog until you just start, until you take the first step. And you have to make it happen, because like you said, no one is going to knock on your door and say, hey, you have permission now to do this thing. You can absolutely make it happen. And I know, there are going to be barriers to resources. So I know it's like, it's not easy to like invest money in certain things. But like when I started Susto, I'm still using the same microphone that I had when I first started this show. I have plans to invest in a setup soon, hopefully, or to raise the funds for that, because it is expensive. But I bought like a less than $100 microphone at the time, and I used the computer that I already had. Taught myself. It's like it's hard to, I think, walk that line of telling people like just make it happen for yourself. But again, with realizing that yes, sometimes there are barriers to access, but I don't know how to say it. I feel like if a lot of the time, if you want to make something happen, you can. And if there's going to be those barriers in your way, do not be one of those barriers for yourself. There's going to be plenty to get in your way and to block you, and there's going to be obstacles. Don't be one of those things for yourself.
Exactly.
Just like make it happen. And to your point earlier, you were saying about when you wanted to start the show, and then you saw Johnny and Eileen, and you were like, oh, I don't know. That doubt, I think, comes from a place sometimes of not thinking like there's room for everyone. And that's something that I consistently say is there's space for all of us. There's room for all of us. Even if you're doing the same thing as somebody else, hopefully without, like completely ripping someone off, you're going to have your own perspective. No one is you. No one, has your thoughts. So I think if you come to it from a genuine place, you're going to have your own perspective. So even if you're doing something similar to somebody else, that's fine. There's room for both of you. There are so many people out there. There are so many people that want different kinds of content, and you're not going to know what those people want until you make it. And then they say, hey, I actually like the way that you do this. I like the way that you say it. So I'm going to come listen to you. Maybe while also simultaneously listening to the person that you thought, you were too similar to. I don't know. That's my soapbox there.
Well, and I'll just say to piggyback on that is it's really important to not let the perfect be the enemy of the good enough, right? Mm-hmm. For me, for the longest time, everything needed to be perfect. My idea needed to be pitch perfect. I needed to have... I wanted to start with like 10 episodes in the can, which I did like 7 to start off with. And I wanted like to do all the research. And then I burnt myself out. I burnt myself out a lot, where like I had to take like a 6-month sabbatical or break because like I just completely burnt myself out. I came back and I retooled it to what I can do. But yeah, because I didn't want the perfect to be the enemy of the good. So, you can find a way to do it. And so I would just recommend just getting it out there, just doing it, and just seeing. I think you'll surprise people. Will surprise themselves by what they're able to do.
Yeah, and I think ultimately that idea of like your idea of perfect, it will come. I have tools now that I've created for Susto. Like I have an elevator pitch. Basically, I have like a 1-sentence elevator pitch for Susto that like a couple years ago I would have never been able to like condense it and make it concise and like describe it to someone, but now when somebody asks about it, I have it down to a science. Like I know exactly what to say, that I feel fully kind of like describes what Susto is. And so yeah, those things will come to you. Those ideas that people have of perfection in their head, they're going to come. Ultimately, they will happen. And then when you get there, you're going to have a different idea of like, like, oh, this could be better, or this could be perfect. Or, like, I don't think it's a negative thing to strive for that perfection. But again, don't let it be your enemy.
Exactly.
All right. Well, yeah. We'll move on from the inspirational stuff. So I only have a few more questions for you, but I'm
having so much fun.
Awesome. Okay, good. So we've covered a few of them, and they're, I think, directly related. They have been directly related to Latinx and Hispanic cultures and folklore and stuff. But in general, just out of like every movie maybe that you have covered or that you've seen, either classic or contemporary, do you have any favorites, like your own personal favorites that you're like, this is my go-to, this is my comfort, this is the one I can watch on repeat?
Well, as your Patreon subscribers can tell or can't tell, I have a bunch of Michael Myers memorabilia in the background, all those posters on the wall and all that memorabilia stuff. That's all Michael Myers stuff. So Halloween is my first and oldest love. I have tattoos on this whole arm is just a sleeve to, well, not sleeve, but it's there's a bunch of tattoos for Halloween. So Halloween has a special place in my heart. I have like 2 memories. It's not and I'm sorry for people who've heard this before, if any listeners came over here, hopefully they did. But I have 2 youngest memories. My first memory, like we were poor, and so my first memory is of being in an apartment on the floor as an infant or toddler, whatever, and there's being cockroaches around. Like this, we were poor. Mm-hmm. My second oldest memory is of a dream that I had of. So we lived in Chicago. We had a 3-flat, so there's 3 apartments and the basement, and the porch was enclosed, and I have this memory of me running up the stairs as a, I don't know, let's say 5-year-old or whatever, and looking behind me and Michael Myers chasing me, and it being like this endless kind of, infinity set of stairs where I could never reach the top, and he was always just right behind me. And that is like the second oldest memory that I have, and it just has just stuck with me for this love that I have for that movie. And so it consumes me. I have a bunch of memorabilia for it and stuff like that. So that is my first love. I don't rewatch a ton of movies. I like to experience new movies. I'm a collector in all things. I collect comic books. I collect movies. So I want to collect experiences as well. And for me, a movie is an experience. So with that being said, I don't go back to a lot of movies unless it's for the podcast, right? But Halloween is one of those. So I don't have a lot of comfort movies except for Halloween. And funny enough, Anthony Jerome M's favorite movie is Night of the Living Dead, the original one. That's one of my comfort movies as well. And I just recently found out because of Johnny and Eileen, that it is that George Romero was Latino, like he was Cuban, which I did not realize it. And just like they said, we're going to claim it, whatever. I'm claiming that, you know. But yeah, so Halloween is just every Halloween I watch it a couple times a year, but on Halloween specifically, my wife can attest to this, and I love her for allowing me to do it. We watch Halloween on Halloween, and I carve a pumpkin while I'm watching Halloween. It's just something that just makes me so happy to be able to do that. And then we put the candle and we put it outside at night. It's one of my favorite things that I do all year round with.
And then she puts on the mask and she chases you around like your dream.
Yeah.
That is such a sweet like image in my head. I mean, I don't know. I love that. That is that's I love that so much. That's really nice.
Yeah.
So I have one final question for you. Where do you see the future of horror movies and paranormal storytelling heading, especially in terms of incorporating diverse cultural perspectives?
Yeah. So I may be a skeptic in real life, but in movies, I love that shit. Right. I love to see spooky ghosts, all that sort of shit. With that being said, I think moving forward, like we talked about already, we're going to see more. I want to see more and more different voices. I want to see people from like the African diaspora. I want to see people from South America. I want to see people from the islands. My wife and I, for our 10th anniversary, we went to Cuba. And while we were in Cuba, I was like on this search for any movies I could find, like horror movies specifically, right? That I can bring out of there. And I didn't find a lot of like horror movies, but I found some movies that I was able to bring back, and some were not that good, but some were really good. And so I know that they have a voice. There's one that came out of Cuba at this point. It's like 10, 15 years ago already. Juan of the Dead. So it's coming off of like the Shaun of the Dead or Dawn of the Dead sort of thing, and it hasn't aged really well because there is a character in there that is really problematic at this point. But coming from that machismo Caribbean Cuban island that's kind of closed off to kind of what the rest of the world has kind of advanced when it comes to like gay and lesbian characters. I can understand it, not saying that it's good or anything, but anyway, I want to see like stories like that because the voices are there, they're just not being amplified, and that's what I'm hoping for. I want to see more people of color in the movies, in front of and behind the camera as well. And not only that, I want to see them in the studios. I want to see, because that's where it's coming from. Like we have some allies in the studios who are like allowing these stories to be told. But it's like they're like, okay, what I'm tired of is it being a black movie or it being a Latinx movie. I want it to just be a fucking movie, right? Just because there's a majority black cast, just because there's a majority Latinx cast, doesn't make it that movie. When you watch a regular movie, when you watch a Marvel movie, and the cast is 90% white, is it a white movie? No, it's just a fucking movie, right? And that's what I want. That's what I want to see going forward is. Our voice is being amplified, and also the greater audience, i.e., white people, going to support those movies, right? Because we've been supporting, because we've been supporting those movies. Now it's time for them to support those, and they're going to see that we have like, listen, we bring flavor to everything that we do, and so they're kind of. I hope that they're getting tired of their unseasoned chicken and come to us. So that's what I'm looking for.
Oh my goodness. What a beautifully seasoned answer.
Yes.
Oh my goodness. Well, Miguel, thank you so much for being here. And again, if you all have not heard me on my horror confessional, my episode is up there. Go listen as well as the other episodes. It is such a great show. And again, thank you for bringing all of this insight and all of this knowledge today. Again, I feel like I have like a laundry list of movies I'm excited to go watch. It's a chore that I'm going to take on. and yeah, any final parting words, anywhere people can find you online or where to listen to you?
Yeah, so My Horror Confessional, new episodes drop on Friday. I do have a Patreon, patreon.com/myhorrorconfessional, where I drop the Zoom episodes every Wednesday. And then on Sundays, we have the Sunday School Sessions, which is an extra show that I do with all the guests to come on. Aiden did that as well. And that's Patreon exclusive. And then I also, because I make comic books, I throw out the comics that I've made. I'll throw them up there in digital form for everybody. So there's that. On Instagram, I'm at Miguel Myers ATX. I don't remember my things, but My Horror Confessional, you'll be able to find me. I don't do Twitter too much anymore.
Yeah, I'll put the links in the description box of this episode so you can.
I do not have my elevator pitch down.
We'll work on it. We'll write it together.
I appreciate that. And I just want to thank you so much for having me on it. This was a blast and a dream come true.
Absolutely. Well, friends, thank you so much. Please bow at the altar, say goodbye to Padre Miguel, and again, thank you for coming, and I will talk to you later. Bye.
Bye.
Welcome back, Wolf friends. Thank you so much for listening to or watching today's episode. Once again, if you are a best ghoul friend on patreon.com/sustopodcast, then you had access to the video version of this episode. You got to see me and Miguel in our little kind of Zoom chat, if you will. And once again, if you have the time today, Thursday the 7th through Saturday the 9th, please drop by and visit the Power of BIPOC Pop Media Symposium, where I will be tabling and presenting at. I'm presenting on Saturday, but I'll be tabling all 3 days. So again, drop by, say hi. And of course, aside from little old me, there are so many other amazing presenters and workshops that are going to be happening, so make sure to check them out. And you can always follow at Susto Podcast on every social media platform for any and all updates on the show. A fun little thing, actually, I just hit 1,000 followers on TikTok, finally. I know, what took so long? I'm thinking the same thing. But you know what? We did it. Small little milestone. Very excited about it. And yes, I'm excited to start doing some more lives on TikTok in the future. I have some ideas. The gears are turning. And if you have ideas, please send them in. I would always love to hear from you. With that being said, huge thank you to this week's patrons. You are Liza, Sadie, Rachel, Alejandra, Luther, April, Mario, Eva, D, Victoria, Josette, Angela and Co, Mandy, Jules, Lori, Jeannie, Desiree C, Anna C, Ashes, Neresa, Rachel, Azucena, Rios, Anna, Marlene, Chata, Lainey, Desiree A, Aaliyah, Holly, and Cynthia. Thank you all so much from the bottom of my heart. If you would like to sign up on Patreon, once again, visit patreon.com/sustopodcast and check out the various little perks that are on there for you all. And thank you for listening. One final thing, the easiest way to support the show is to interact with it online. Follow the social medias, like, subscribe, rate, review, share it with your friends. And if you don't, then the kukui is going to come and tug on your feet at night. Thanks for listening and watching. Bye.